Hello, Dr. Toddy. This is Edward, and uh, I would like to do my video on Project Phase 2. And to give you a refresher about my project, this project is about exploring the technical and behavioral factors that help amateur boxers win under the 10-point must scoring system. And because in amateur boxing and boxing in general, that it's more than just landing punches that can get you the win. You have to look beyond that. Even within the technical factors, there are more than just landing the punches. So I thought it was a very interesting topic for me to explore. I'm very passionate in boxing. So okay, let's move on to the pearls that I found during phase 2. I have total of 2 pearls that I found. The first one I would like to introduce you to is, so I did I don't know how to call this, but LM plot. I did an LM plot to compare total hit, which is the total punches land in the scoring area, and def total is the total actions of defense, total number of defensive actions that boxer took, and the hue is bout result, which is whether the boxer received a win or loss. So as you can see here, orange represents the winning boxers, blue represents the losing boxers, and the the x-axis is total hit, and the y-axis is def total. So, and we can see here that for winning boxers, the correlation between total hit and def total is positive, and the for losing boxers, the total hit and def total is negative. And what that means is that as more total punches landing in the scoring area, the boxer lands. If it's positive, the more defensive action that boxer will also take, and that's for the winning boxer. For losing boxers, the more total punches they land in the scoring area, the less defensive actions they took, while whether it's while doing it or after they finish the punches. But either way, the more scoring punches they land, the less defensive actions they took. So that is that really, when I saw this, it really resonated with me, because in boxing, we always have it's like an iron rule, like the number one rule about boxing, which I mentioned here in the summary: to hit and not get hit. So it's very important for you to initiate an attack, and then right after that, it have to come with your defense, because when you punch, your hands are leaving your guard, which means that when you're punching and when you finish punching, but those 2 phases are the time that you can also be punched the most. So when you're attacking defensively talking, that's actually when you're the most vulnerable. So it's very important to balance the offense and defense in boxing. It's very important to remember to defend yourself after you throw your punches. So I was saying that this trend line really makes a lot of sense, because, like I said, when the loser boxers try to go on offense, they really, since it's negative, it's indicating that they neglect their defense. It could be because they're more vulnerable, they're more tired, and they're just simply focused on landing the punches, but they're forgetting you also have to defend yourself right after, right? And for winning boxers, as we can see, it's positive. The more they land scoring punches, the more defensive actions they took, and which is like really, this finding is really, it's a pro for a reason, because that's what boxing is about, like turning offense into defense, turning defense into offense. It shouldn't be too separated. It should be, the transition should be smooth, like, which our coaches always like emphasis on, like turn your defense into offense, turn your offense into defense, and always remember like multiple phases attack, which means like you attack, you defend, and then you attack again, you defend again, like multiple phases. So yeah, all the how do I say, all the principles and fundamentals I learned about like boxing, especially regarding the to get and not get hit, and about offense and defense, is highly reflected in this chart, this one right here, the LM plot of total hit versus death total by bout results. And moving on to my second pearl, which is this last one right here. It was one of my assumptions actually, and which I'll also go over, which I also go over a little bit. And this second assumption became a pro actually, and which is very interesting. This one is also LM plot of round, which is the number of rounds. So just ignore the decimal number in between, but it's just round 1, as we can see here, round 2, and round 3. That's the x-axis, and the y-axis is total hit. So I'm trying to see like between winning boxers and losing boxers, what is the scoring punches landed by round? What is the difference? So as we can see, and with this assumption, I came to the conclusion, which is my pearl, that the first round is extremely important. And this is because, as we can see, even though for the winning boxers, the total scoring punches landed is kind of like the correlation is kind of like just slightly negative, but it's almost neutral. And while the losing boxer actually is a positive, so as the round advances, they actually start to land more. They actually start to land more scoring punches. However, that first round is where they have the biggest margin of total punches, total scoring punches land. And this again like really resonated with me, because our coaches also always emphasize on like establish a very strong first round, like show your dominance in the first round, because judges take sometimes they look at the first round like very very heavily, and also since it's the first round, like you establish that dominance, like it's very important. So, and this also like makes sense, because why they're winning boxers is because like they really established the first round like very strong. And look at the total hit margin is the biggest in the first round. And even though for losing boxers, yes, they landed more as the round advances, it's almost like they're playing catch up. Like they lost the first round, and then the second round, yes, they caught up a little bit more. But look, it's still their total hit number is still lower than the winning boxer. At the end, they finally closed the margin by a lot compared to the first round, but they are still having less total hit than the winning boxer. And for the winning boxers, yes, is slightly negative, the correlation, um, almost neutral, but they is like they keep a very steady pace. There, it shows that they're really in control, like, and just really due to the first round, because they established such a dominance, that I started to think, as a boxer, like, this can really play not only on the physical part but also the mental part, because sometimes, because fighting is mental. Fighting is 80% mental, 20% physical. This is like a saying in boxing, um but it is true, as a big part of it is mental. If you establish such a dominant round in the first round, your opponent start to kind of doubt himself or herself, that, like, oh, this guy is so dominated, like so dominating. I gotta work harder. I gotta work harder. Do I really got this? Like, since, as we can see, the first round was such dominated by the winning boxers. I start to think psychology, that could be a reason. But yeah, so that is my second pearl for that I can find in phase two. And just quickly go over my assumption. This one, I always thought that in amateur boxing, having a more bouncy style, or like, which means like you're always like on your toes, you're bouncing, you're ready to spring off your feet to attack. Well, because amateur boxing is more high pace, and I thought by having like a high bounce time, which is like you bouncing on your feet, will be more successful. Is not true. This assumption is not true, because based on the chart below, we can see both total hit and bounce time, for winning and losing boxers, the correlation is negative. So I kind of surprised myself on that one. But yes, and then move on to reflecting the work I have done so far. And one thing I wish I know, the work I've done so far, just to give you a quick review of the whole phase two. I imported my libraries, NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, just the Matplotlib library, inline settings, the display settings. Imported my data from the CSV file that I found online, my data set I found online. Take a quick look at all the variables and preparing the data. Yeah, make sure, first check to see all the default data tag for all the variables. We see like there are, here we have 11 float, which is decimal variable, 9 integer variable, 1 object variable, and then we check for missing values. We did some data conversion. So for these two, because bulk result is a category, you either win or you lose, right? Weight category, yes, it is a decimal number. Those are integer numbers, but they are not really continuous numbers. Rather, they're like code, because they represent the weight classes. So that's that. We did some necessary data type conversion, and then we did some additional calculated features, because those calculations were in the CSV files, but once we import them in Jupyter Notebook, I have to redo them again. So these are the calculations, additional calculation feature that we did. And lastly was explore the data. Just pretty much did all the instruction asked. And lastly, when it's asking me to create just any combinations of three variables, that's when I start to explore on my own, put together the variables to compare that I think it makes sense, and I found out the two pros that I showed you. And lastly, one thing I wish I know before I start this project is to really make sure there are no spaces in your variables, because I was very confused when I was trying to create the additional calculated features, because it kept giving me error code. But I was like, I typed the variable name right, and why is it still giving me error code? So I went back to the CSV files and checked. Oh, it's because I have spaces after the variable name. So this is something very simple, very, very detailed, but I think it's very important. And it's definitely one thing I wish I know before I start phase 2 of the project, because that took me a lot of time to figure out, actually. With that being said, thank you for listening to my phase 2 of the project presentation. Thank you, Dr. Toddy, and I will see you in the phase 3 of project. Thank you very much.